Hey everyone, I'm Mr. Willis, and welcome to You Will Love AP Government. Thanks for joining me. This is the first video in a series that will cover every single topic in the AP U.S. Government course curriculum. The goal of these videos is to give you everything that the top dogs at AP expect you to know without all the fluff. I also have videos for each of the required foundational documents and Supreme Court cases, so look for those playlists to get a breakdown of how to use those in DBQs and essays. Today's video is all about Topic 1.1, Ideals of Democracy. If you're taking notes for your AP class or prepping for the AP exam, remember to click on the link below and download the free guided notebook page to make it easier to follow along. Let's get right to it. In this video, our goal is to explain how democratic ideals are reflected in the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. The government of the United States was built upon a set of core democratic ideals that have come to define the American political tradition. These principles, natural rights, the social contract, popular sovereignty, and limited government, are more than abstract theories. They form what many scholars and citizens refer to as the American Creed. This creed expresses a shared belief in liberty, equality, individual rights, and the rule of law, values that unite Americans across generations, even amid deep political differences. Natural rights are fundamental freedoms that every individual possesses, simply by virtue of being human. These rights are considered inherent, universal, and inalienable, and cannot be given or taken away by governments. The concept of natural rights originates from Enlightenment philosophers, especially John Locke, who identified life, liberty, and property as the essential rights granted to every human at birth. The social contract is the idea that individuals consent to form a government in order to protect their natural rights, agreeing to give up some personal freedoms in exchange for the security and order that government provides. This concept, developed by Enlightenment thinkers like John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau, emphasized that a government's legitimacy comes from the consent of the governed. If the government violates the social contract by passing unjust laws that violate the rights of citizens, the people have the right to dissolve it and replace it with a new government that will do a better job. Popular sovereignty is the principle that the authority of a government is created and sustained by the consent of its people. In other words, political power originates with the people, who have the ultimate say in how they are governed. This idea directly challenges rule by monarchs or elites, and instead supports a system in which citizens actively shape their government through elections, participation, and representation. Limited government is the principle that government power must be restricted by laws and a constitution to protect individual liberties and prevent tyranny. This idea is based on the belief that while government is necessary to maintain order and protect rights, it must not be allowed to infringe upon the freedoms of the people. To ensure that the United States government was strong enough to govern effectively, yet limited enough to safeguard the rights and freedoms of its citizens, the framers turned to the principles of separation of powers, checks and balances, federalism, and republicanism. The separation of powers is a foundational principle of American government that divides authority among three separate and co-equal branches: the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. Each branch has its own specific powers and responsibilities, which prevents the consolidation of power in any single branch. This structure was heavily influenced by Enlightenment thinker Montesquieu, who argued that liberty is best protected when government powers are broken up and divided among different branches of government. Checks and balances is a system in which each branch of government has the authority to monitor and limit the actions of the others. The U.S. Constitution establishes specific powers for each branch that create a system of mutual oversight. By ensuring that power is balanced and restrained, checks and balances help maintain the Constitution's commitment to limited government. Federalism is a system of government in which power is divided between the national government and state governments, with each level having its own distinct responsibilities and authority. The U.S. Constitution outlines the powers granted to the federal government, such as regulating interstate commerce, coining money, and conducting foreign policy, while reserving other powers to the states. This structure allows states to address local needs and preferences, while the federal government handles national issues, creating a balance that protects individual liberties and prevents centralized control. Republicanism is a form of government in which political power resides with the people and is exercised through elected representatives. Rather than direct rule by the majority, republicanism emphasizes representative democracy, where citizens elect officials to make laws and govern on their behalf. This principle ensures limited government by creating a system in which leaders are accountable to the voters and must govern according to the rule of law. By giving citizens the power to choose and remove their leaders, republicanism helps prevent tyranny and promotes a government that reflects the interests of its constituents. The democratic ideals at the heart of the American Creed are woven directly into the nation's founding documents, especially the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. For example, in the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson asserts that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This reflects the idea of natural rights, inherent freedoms that belong to all individuals and cannot be justly taken away by governments. The document also echoes the social contract by declaring that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, and that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government. This reflects that the people agree to form government to protect their rights, and that citizens have not only the right, but the duty to replace a government that fails to protect their liberties. Finally, the Declaration also embraces popular sovereignty, stating that governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed, meaning that legitimate political authority comes from the people, not from kings or divine right. The influence of democratic ideals can also be found in the United States Constitution. The preamble begins with those three famous words, "We the people," reinforcing that the American people themselves approve of the Constitution and the government it establishes through the principle of popular sovereignty. The framers also turned to the separation of powers to prevent the consolidation of power in the hands of one person or a group of elites. They broke up the powers of the government and divided them among three co-equal branches of government, granting unique enumerated powers to each in Articles 1, 2, and 3 of the Constitution. The document also reflects republicanism, as it establishes a representative government where citizens elect lawmakers to act on their behalf. For instance, Article 1, Section 2 states that the House of Representatives shall be composed of members chosen every second year by the people of the several states. Finally, federalism is embedded throughout the Constitution, particularly in the 10th Amendment, which declares that the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. This division of power between the national and state governments limits centralized authority and promotes a balance that protects individual liberty. Together, these principles ensure that the government remains rooted in the consent of the governed and constrained by law. And that's everything you need to know about ideals of democracy. You can click here for additional videos for AP U.S. government, and be sure to check out my videos on AP macroeconomics and AP microeconomics as well. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more content on AP government and economics. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time on You Will Love AP Gov.